Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. I'm Ingrid, your co-host, and with me is Isabel. We're just waiting for a new more participants to join us today to talk about growth opportunities with internationalization on eBay. Participants still coming in. So as we are waiting, maybe try out the chat if that works for you and tell us which country you are from so that we know which markets we are addressing. That would be nice. And then we can also have an idea of who is listening to us today. Yeah, I think we'll just wait maybe 1 or 2 minutes more. Okay, so we have Germany and from Munich. Okay. And also Germany here. Right, it's good. Interesting. Yeah, let us know where you're from. Again, to everyone else joining us now, welcome. We're just waiting for another minute because there's still people dropping in, and I wouldn't want anyone to miss any of our great content today because we're talking about cross-border internationalization. Right. Lots more people joining us. Good morning to you as well. Thank you for the nice messages in the chat. So, great. Okay, I guess for now we're complete. So, Isabel, you ready to go? What would you
I
say?
am. Yeah, just checking if you see the slideshow and not my browser.
That looks good at the moment.
Okay,
So
perfect.
we keep it like that. Okay, great. Okay, right. So let's get started, I guess. As I already said, if you're still joining us, please tell us in the chat where you're from, where you're listening from, so that we have an idea which markets we're addressing today. Maybe before we get started, just a few words about who is talking to you today. So my name is Ingrid. I'm the co-founder of Marketplace Universe, which I founded together with Valerie, who is also in the chat at the moment. With Marketplace Universe, we try to build a community for all marketplace people in Europe. Everyone who is selling and marketing their products on online marketplaces shall find their home with us. We inform you, we connect you with our events and with our podcast and newsletter and on LinkedIn as well. And of course, with webinars such as this, which we normally do with partners together, which brings me to Isabel. So why don't you introduce yourself, Isabel, a bit?
Happy to do so. And hi, everyone. I'm Isabel from eBay. I'm now with eBay since a little bit over 6 years. And the majority of my time here, I was focusing on the selling experience of business sellers on eBay and all the related go-to-market activities. As a little fun fact, a couple of years ago, I was writing my master thesis with eBay about international trade. And since then, the topic is part of my role to a different kind of extent. And since 4 years, I'm also the podcast host of our podcast in eBay Germany, Alles top, gerne wieder. So if you haven't listened to it, definitely give it a try. And
Yes.
yeah, since over a year, I'm now leading the brand relations program for eBay Germany, and I'm super happy to introduce you to the beautiful landscape of international trade at eBay today.
Okay, great. Yeah, so that all makes you the perfect co-host for today, I would say, on cross-border. Right, then let's move on. And yeah, just a quick overview of what we do at the Marketplace Universe for you, so that you know why you're here today. As I said before, we are the home for all marketplace people. You can follow us on LinkedIn. You can subscribe to our weekly newsletter or listen to our podcast. And of course, just be part of our community, which we are forming at the moment, where we bring brands together and connect them with each other so that people can talk to those people who really know what the marketplace business is all about, you know, all the challenges and the joys of it. And this is what we do. And internationalization is, of course, a very big part of it because we realize that people, marketplace people from every country basically share about the same challenges. So people can learn a lot from, I don't know, a German person selling on marketplaces can learn a lot from someone from France or from Italy or from Spain and the other way around. And of course, the whole marketplace world is getting more and more international, with marketplaces extending their offerings all over the continent, basically. So it's important to keep up to the possibilities that you have there. And I'm really happy that we can talk today with eBay about this, because actually you've always been a cross-border pioneer when we come down to that. Yeah, so why cross-border? Maybe just a few figures in the beginning, because in our marketplace universe, I'm the facts and figures queen. So I always bring statistics and nice and interesting figures. And this is one of my favorite ones that I like to talk about when we talk about cross-border internationalization, because it just shows you how big this topic is and how much it is growing over the last years. So these are figures from cross-border e-commerce, an institute in Brussels, which puts together all the cross-border turnover from all countries. And they found that in 2023, 2024, a total of 326 billion euros was generated just in cross-border e-commerce. So people from one country buying from a company from another country. And if we move on, and we see where most of this turnover is generated. And that leads us to marketplaces. 69% of all cross-border sales in Europe were generated on marketplaces. So that is huge. This is really a big thing, and it's growing very, very strongly, much more than local economies are growing, especially a lot more than the German e-commerce is growing at the moment, because I've seen a lot of people from Germany in the chat. So these are where the growth opportunities lie. Yeah, maybe one other thing. If you move on, Isabel, to the next slide, yeah, then this is something that I did a bit of number juggling here, and this slide maybe needs a bit of explanation. What did I do here? I looked at the turnover of each country and the e-commerce turnover, and I looked at the internet population, so the people in each country which use the internet to shop online, and then I divided these by each other, and what did I get? An e-commerce turnover per capita and per country. And this is interesting if you're looking for growth opportunities. If you're wondering, okay, which country would be interesting? Which market can be interesting to me and to my products? And then if you look at this chart, you see there are some countries that have a lower e-commerce turnover per capita, like Italy, for example. And there are other countries like the UK or Switzerland, which really have high turnover per capita, but just because that country is very e-commerce prone, for example, or it has a higher household income. And so that gives you an idea of which markets might be the most interesting for you, because you can get bigger baskets by them, just basically. Yeah? And it might be interesting to look at these countries and wonder, okay, which could be an easy opportunity to sell into a country that has an interesting lookout for cross-border sales. So just to give you an idea. So there are many different things that play into the strategy for cross-border, and I guess Isabel will touch upon more of those in a minute, but this is just one of the things that you might consider. Right. So I guess that already was my number section. I keep it short and simple today because Isabel has so many interesting things to tell you. And also we have a special guest for later on. Bart van Weelie is joining us, an eBay seller who is from the Netherlands, who is very active in cross-border and can fact check everything that Isabel says from the seller's perspective later on. So we will do that. But before I hand over to Isabel, one more question to you. Which country is the most interesting for you? So because you have joined our webinar today, I guess you are already interested in cross-border and wondering maybe which country you want to attack next. So tell us which is the most interesting market for you. Okay, I see France here. I see UK. Interesting. Anything else? Or just, oh, Switzerland. Someone is looking for a challenge. Yeah, Poland. Okay. All over the place. Okay, people from elsewhere to go for Germany, of course. Brazil, okay, that's interesting. You've got to explain that. Okay, what else? UK, Switzerland, Italy, UK. UK is quite high on the list, Isabel. Good news, I think. So another Italy. Yeah, really interesting mixture here, I think. Okay, then I guess move on. Let's move on. I'll hand over to you, Isabell. Just one final thing to you, dear audience. Whenever you have a question, just write it down in the chat. If there's something that you would like Isabell to add or to explain a bit more, just write it down and I will point it out to her. I see someone raising their hand, but you have to write in the chat because then I can know what you would like to know and then I can read it out to Isabell. Okay, then
Yeah.
I guess, Isabell, get started.
Thank you so much. And yes, it's good that you will interrupt me because I'm sharing my screen and therefore I can't see the chat. So yeah, another hi from my end again. And thank you for the introduction to CBT in general. I think it became super clear how big the potential is and how big the potential will grow over time. And now I will take a couple of minutes to show to you why eBay is a good marketplace to actually do international trade. And with that, I will start with a quick intro to eBay in general. So eBay is a pure marketplace with about 30 years of history. And I like the wording, eBay is a pioneer when it comes to CBT, because that is actually what we do since almost the very first day. So by now we are reaching buyers in over 190 markets around the globe. And we are a pure marketplace, meaning we are not selling ourselves. We are never in competition with our sellers, and we are only successful when our sellers are successful. And therefore, that's what we are also aiming for. So what you find on our marketplace is really buyers and sellers coming together. And we have a mixture of private sellers as well as professional sellers. And we are kind of a place for everyone and everything. And meaning with that, we have new inventory, but we are also becoming a more and more important player when it comes to refurbished items, which is actually like the number one thing at the moment. And refurb, speaking about electronic items, but also clothing, parts and accessories, and so on. So across our inventory range, refurb is really at the moment the number one thing on our marketplace. But of course, we are also having a place for new items, meaning we are a big marketplace with a lot of potential in all different areas when it comes to e-commerce. But what does it actually mean being a global marketplace? As said, we are offering access to 190 markets, and I also brought you some numbers here, meaning with eBay you can reach 27 EU countries, and globally we have 2.3 billion listings live. It looks like a super small number here on the slide, but when you actually imagine how big this is, it's quite huge. And what is also super interesting is that almost half of our revenue is coming from international operations. It's showing how big actually also eBay is in terms of cross-border activities. And yeah, with eBay, you can reach 134 million active buyers worldwide. Those are numbers from end of last year, so it's slightly growing, and also international operations are definitely growing over the past years. So there's definitely potential. And as I saw many German sellers here in the chat, we are obviously also big in Germany. It's the number 3 market for eBay. And for German sellers, we always say you have to have a multi-channel strategy, meaning you have to be active on different marketplaces to just distribute the risk that you are always having in e-commerce. And international trade is also one opportunity to further distribute the risk when you're selling online. So how do you reach actually buyers globally? We don't have an eBay site on every country, but we do have over 20 eBay sites actually where you can reach buyers directly, and those are here in dark blue. So those buyers in those countries you can reach via their local site like ebay.de or ebay.fr for France, eBay Italy, and so on. But we also have a wide range of buyers that you can actually reach via ebay.com. We're calling this the global buying hub because, for example, when you want to reach a buyer in Turkey where we don't have a local eBay site, you can actually list your item on ebay.com, or you can activate shipping to Turkey, And then buyers can access ebay.com, and then you can ship to them if they buy your items. So this is how you can reach buyers really globally. You see, not all buyers can be reached across the globe, but as I said, like 190 markets can be reached just via eBay. But how does it actually work? We are differentiating cross-border trade in two scenarios. But overall, the scenario is always the buyer is in one country and the seller is in a different country. And as said, you can activate shipping for your listings. So taking the scenario, you are a German seller and you're listing on eBay Germany already, you can enable shipping to France, for example. So you just have your German listing and you go to your shipping section, and then you can activate shipment to France. You can define the shipping costs, and then the listing will appear on eBay France without you actually accessing the page. And some parts of the listing are being translated automatically by us, not all parts, but the title, for example, and the currency is being converted. Obviously, for France, you don't have to localize the currency, but if you sell to another country, and then buyers can shop for those items. So it's quite a easy and simple process. It's coming with low initial costs. You don't have to do major market research. And we usually recommend this like simple scenario for sellers if they are unsure how to actually get their listings live on a different site, if they're not sure how the demand is on the other side, and yeah, just to really try to access a new market as a really low initial cost. However, this opportunity obviously lacks customization, so you can't really adjust the item description. Also, it's coming with potential legal and compliance issues depending on the market you're selling in. And of course, you also have the language barriers. Those listings, because they're also not like fully translated, and it's just an automation that is running, are usually a little bit lower on visibility because it's not a fully localized listing. However, it's still a great opportunity for sellers if they just slowly want to enter a new market. Coming to the second opportunity, which we're calling active CBT, and active because you're actively accessing a new market. And when we go to the example that I just explained, a German seller that wants to sell on eBay France, you can also access eBay France directly, log in with your normal credentials, and get a listing created on eBay France. So you would have a German listing as well as then the French listing separately. This gives you the opportunity that you fully localize your listing, you adjust it with the wording that you want. But obviously, it's also coming then with higher operational costs because you have to take care of the translation. It's a little bit more complex because you have to access a new page. You still have the language barriers, and we recommend that you do some market research before you enter the new market, given the higher complexity that you actually have. However, it's coming with increased visibility because the listing is fully localized and is more appealing for French buyers in this scenario. You have the full control over listings, meaning you can also tailor price it to the selected market, and it's giving you the full range of marketing opportunities that you already know from your local operations. And I'm pausing here and looking to your direction, Ingrid. Are there questions in the chat? Because that was quite fast. Not sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of going on here, actually. Well, we have one about which countries are the strongest markets for eBay in Europe, but you are going to touch upon that later on. Yeah, so just a bit more patience on that. And I have here one, how do I pick the country if I list my items to ebay.com? So if someone from Turkey, for example, enters the ebay.com site, is it translated automatically?
So it's not appearing in Turkish, it's appearing in English.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So if you want that, you have to use tools and stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Good. Just having a look. Right. Important to know that different eBay sites have different eBay fees. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Will you touching upon that as well later, Isabel, or can you say a few things about that?
You mean about the fee
Yeah,
structure?
how they
Yeah.
differ.
Yeah, it's hard to just give a recommendation that suits for everyone. Everyone who's already active on eBay knows that we do have different fees per category, different fees per market, and we also sometimes have an international fee depending on this shop subscription model. So I would recommend that you check our fee page, and maybe we can share it afterwards. We have some help pages where sellers then can identify in which categories they're active and to which markets they want to sell. And yeah, then they can see what fees would actually apply.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I would say
Moving
maybe
on.
get on because we have a lot of questions that will be answered later, especially also the one about eBay Mac. So just to let you
Awesome.
know.
Which is actually a perfect intro for the next slide.
Yes.
Because when we speak about active CBT, meaning that I want to create a listing on a dedicated eBay page, I need to get the listing localized. And we usually have three options to do so. First is, I think, the most obvious one. You use your own translations, meaning that you either are fluent in the language of the market you want to sell to, or you're using ChatGPT, any AI tools, or just Google Translate, DeepL, etc. I think there are tons of opportunities out there that can help you create your own translation. A second opportunity that we recommend to sellers in Europe is the European Sales Booster. It's something that we offer in collaboration with WebInterpret, so you get a little discount there on the offerings of WebInterpret, and WebInterpret is an external service provider that is actually taking care of translations and listings for international operations. How it works is that you have your German listing, just sticking to my scenario, having a listing on eBay Germany that needs to be shipped to France. And you just add the shipping opportunity to the listing on eBay Germany, and the European Sales Booster would then pick it up and list it on eBay France, but fully localized and with the opportunity for you that you can actually do some adjustments. And then we do have eBay Mac, which just looking, remembering the chat that we do have a lot of German sellers here, might sound new to you. It's a tool that we have now also available for our German sellers. That is actually kind of doing the same. So you have your listing on eBay Germany, and then you can select the markets where you want to sell to. And eBay Mac is then fully localizing it and listing it on the different markets.
Right. Just a quick stop to get the chat going again, which actually is not really necessary because we have lots of active people here asking questions. Keep on the good work, that's good. But because Isabel has just been talking about translations tools and localizing tools, so which tools do you use at the moment to translate and localize your listings? Let us know which you are using, and maybe also some feedback on if you're happy with that or if something is lacking or what is your main problem with it. AI, yes, of course. AI is, I guess, one of the main answers we're going to have, but there's also some eBay Mac users here.
Which is great.
Yeah, for Italy and the UK. Okay, very good. While we're waiting for a few more answers to come in, I've got a question here regarding cross-border trade returns and cases that need to be solved by e.g. concierge. So usually sellers and eBay AMs need to get in touch with each country where the item was sold. This is usually very difficult to solve the seller issue, not only because of the language barriers. So are there any solutions planned from eBay here?
So the problem that is being described is that when I have an issue on eBay France, I need to get in touch with a French concierge service.
Yes.
I'm not aware that there's any plans that we change that. We usually keep our customer service in the local languages. But let me actually take that with me because I don't want to say completely no, there's nothing planned. But what usually helps is maybe like a written exchange. I know that our teams are quite active now with new writing support that can be accessed. But I'm not sure what markets are already in the pipeline.
Okay, I see. And another one directly to eBay Mac. What is the difference between eBay Mac and European Sales Booster as a user?
Yeah, and that's a good question. And I will show a little bit more about eBay Mac in a second, which might make it more clear. The difference is basically that Web Interpret is something external. It's from an external provider where you can actually create listings also for other marketplaces that are being translated. Both tools are being compatible. Is that the right English word? They can be used with 3PPs. So listings are being created, but from the side of functionalities, they are kind of the same, I would say. The good thing is eBay Mac is completely for free for eBay users, while Web Interpret is not completely free. You have a certain amount of listings that are for free, dependent on the level of shop subscription. So it's basically, I would say, in a nutshell, eBay is our own service, while Web Interpret is a discounted external service.
Okay, good. Yeah, then I guess let's move on.
Yeah, what is eBay Mac? It's a free tool that we're offering for our sellers. It's been actually live since a few years, and it was initially launched for our Apex sellers, who are also export heroes, I would say. And eBay Mac is basically a translation service that we are offering. You can access it with eBay dot whatever site you need to access, for example, ebay.de slash eBay Mac. And then you come to the eBay Mac page. And eBay Mac allows you to sell abroad with your local listings. And we discussed this passive versus active scenario up front. And what eBay Mac is actually doing is transferring a passive listing to an active one. So all you have to do is defining your shipping options for your local listings, and then eBay Mac is taking care of the rest. It's synchronizing your inventory, meaning if you have a sale in eBay France, it actually gets reduced on the overall stock that you have. Yeah, it's fully translating and localizing the listing, meaning the titles and item descriptions are being translated. Also, if you're using HTML templates, everything is being transferred. And the beauty of Web Interpret is also that it actually adapts the categories, and we already briefly touched the category structure. eBay has a slightly different category structure dependent on the market. And eBay Mac is actually doing the adaptation of those, so that when you're selling vitamins, for example, the right category is being picked up by eBay Mac automatically in your target market. Also, what it's doing is the currency conversion based on the day that you actually activate the market, but you can always go back and adjust the price if you want to. And it's not adding an additional insertion fee, but we already touched the fee structure. It's not like waiving fees for you. So the terms and conditions still apply, and the fees are still dependent on the level of shop subscription. I would go into a little bit more detail and show you how it actually works. Just quite briefly, if there's anyone who wants to start using eBay Mac in this group, I will highly recommend that you actually activate business policies before, in German Rahmenbedingungen, because it makes your life so much easier with eBay Mac. What you have to do is basically define your shipping policies within your business policies, define your shipping costs, your target market, etc. And then you can apply it to your listing so that you have a fully passive CBT listing, basically. And eBay Mac is then picking up those settings and is applying them automatically. If you're not doing this, you would actually transfer, and I go to this slide, import all your listings, and then you would have to choose listing by listing again to what market you actually want to activate it. You can still do it like manually, but it's so much easier if you do it upfront via business policies, and it also allows you to just adjust the business policies so that all the changes on your local listings are automatically applied to your eBay Mac listings. So when you start using eBay Mac, you can import your listings. They're going to eBay Mac, and then you have the opportunity to select the sites where you actually want to sell to. We are supporting 8 different pages here with, I think it's 5 different languages, if I'm not miscounting. And eBay Mac is listing them on those local eBay sites automatically if you select them. If you're not selecting them up front, you can always switch on and switch off the eBay sites in this overview. And here you basically have a list of all your listings that you imported to eBay Mac. You see here on the right side that you can still adjust the shipping, which is actually also true for all the content in the listing. So once it's localized, there's always the recommendation to do a sanity check if you're kind of familiar with the language you're selling to, because we have sometimes, I don't know, specific brand names, book names, things that shouldn't be translated, but are sometimes still like in translation. So there's always the recommendations to just do a sanity check, but actually with every translation format that you use, even though if it's AI or not. Yeah, and when you have your listings important, you're actually good to go, and the listing will appear automatically almost in same time on the local eBay site.
Mm-hmm. Isabel, we have a few questions regarding eBay Mac. There's one asking, are just 6 listings per country free?
No, it's completely free for all your listings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And then we have one by Mareike. Is it possible to add and manage eBay ads with eBay Mac globally?
It's a good question. Not so we have a quite huge advertising portfolio, and not all ad formats are being offered, if I'm not mistaken, globally. But there's definitely the opportunity to use advertising. Maybe Bart can say at the end a little bit more about that.
Okay. And some questions about picking and choosing your listings. So can you select only a few listings for eBay Mac, and also can you adjust sales prices per countries if you need to do so?
Yes, you can, and that was why I would recommend to use the shipping policies before. So if you have certain listings that you don't want to sell internationally, you always can exclude them for cross-border trade. And yes, you can adjust prices at every time. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, guess we can move on.
Cool. I don't want to people stop listening to me. But when we sell cross borders, and we know that already from our local operations, regulations is always important. The legal situation is always a little bit, I would say, difficult to understand or to navigate through, or at least it's a barrier for many folks. There's always the recommendation from our end to get an expert on the site, whether it's locally or internationally, because there are so many things that should be considered, especially when we're starting. However, we as eBay also want to make your lives a little bit easier, and that's why we launched a new regulatory portal a couple of days ago, actually. So it's quite fresh. You can find it under ebay.co.uk/regulatory, or for the German speakers here in the room, it's ebay.de/Rechtsvorschriften. Yeah, bless you. And in this portal, you can actually say if you're a personal or a business seller, and then you can say from where you want to sell to what country. So in the example here on the screen, if you are located in the Netherlands and you want to say sell to France, you can discover regulations, and you will find a list of regulatories that will apply when you sell on eBay. It's not a full list of regulations overall, so it's never like complete, and it's not really replacing a lawyer, but it helps you to get a first sense of the market you actually want to sell to. And it's also in the example that you see here on the screen, because it's um, a European shipment, or it would be a European transaction. You will also find like European-wide laws and not only the ones from France. So it's quite, I would say, an almost complete overview that is aiming to help you to navigate a little bit better through the regulatory jungle that we have.
That is seriously cool. I just need to help you sell this because I think on the page itself doesn't look like much, but it helps you so much with your research. And I just recently did some research on regulatory selling cross border, and it's a nightmare basically to find out everything that is important. So
Yeah.
this is really helpful. So just a question about this: how are you updating it?
So we have to update it anyways. So
Mm-hmm.
what it's actually doing is that it's picking up content from our help pages, and our help pages are always up to date. We have several teams that are actually working on the content. We do have various regulatory teams across the globe that is responsible for the content. And the page is aiming to simplify the access to those help pages, because also what you described, the research and all the pages that are live, it's quite a nightmare if you just access them like externally, and that's why we basically introduced this page to have it a little bit more accessible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Really cool. Uh, just to answer that question from the chat, yes, we will be sharing the slides later on. You will all receive an email tomorrow with the link to recordings, or you can watch it again or give it to your colleagues. And that will also include a link to the presentation, so you can look it all up again. Yeah,
Cool.
good.
Yeah, then moving forward, because we already had the question, where to start selling internationally. And therefore, I asked our analytics team to actually look into what are like like favorite export markets here in Europe. And it's funny that we saw Italy already in the chat quite often, but we didn't saw Austria.
No, which,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, actually, Austria, I would say, is quite a no-brainer, at least for German sellers, but
Mm.
it's also quite easy to access market. And we also saw France and Spain. United Kingdom is also quite famous, as well as the United States, given the huge opportunity. Switzerland is also quite high in the list, as well as Poland, Netherlands, and Belgium. So this is the list. And it's also quite in line with the slide that you shared, if I'm not mistaken, in the beginning. So what we see in our marketplace is kind of also in line with what we see overall is happening in the market. And before we now, because this is the list of like all sellers, it's quite horizontally. It doesn't give you an idea for your specific products, but we have more category specific insights for you.
Just going back on that slide before, because I have a question here. These are all of these countries with their own eBay shops? They're not, are they? Because some of them
The eBay
there's
shop, you mean
only .com.
local eBay site, right?
Yeah,
No, all of them have an own eBay
all of them.
site.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Right. Okay. Yeah, short question to you, because Isabel has brought a lot of information on the most interesting markets for several certain categories. So if you would just fill out the poll that I just placed on your screen and tell us which category you are in. There's, of course, stuff like fashion and shoes and electronics, but also car parts, because this is an interesting category for eBay, as is collectibles and DIY and garden. And if you've got anything else to say, or any other category that is important to you, just click other and maybe write it in the chat. So then Isabel can focus on these categories. So there's already some answers coming in. We have a very eBay way of, yeah, category spread out, I would say, because it's quite equally parted between fashion and electronics and car parts and DIY. We also got some collectibles here, some others. Interesting. Yeah, but this is what you said in the beginning, that eBay is this store for anything and everything.
And
Which
maybe
lots
the
of
ones that said other can write in the chat
yes.
what categories they're actually selling.
Ah, yeah, we've got some toys and jewels. Interesting.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
toys would fall under collectibles for us, and we would put
Oh,
jewelry to fashion.
okay. Tires and wheels. Yeah, that's car parts, of course. Pet care. That's DIY and garden for you, or
That's a good question.
hmm,
Yeah, it would be an DIY and garden. Why
I think
we
so.
put it under home and garden? Actually, it's not
Mm-hmm. Yeah, then that
DIY
should be
anymore.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for your answers. I'm just closing the poll so that we can see the results. And there you can see, Isabel, it's really diverse, as
Spread out.
eBay always is.
Yeah. Which is great because
Okay.
we brought something for everyone. Because what we also discussed with our analytics team is, hey, we need to identify the demand of items in the different markets. And therefore, we looked into every category, into every market, and identified what are the most demanded items, and therefore are having the best potential for exports. And this is aiming to give you an overview about where you could start with your specific items. And the funny thing was, I got a list with items, and I'm not a P&A person. I have no idea what the different items were. So we worked on actually visualizing the different items. And bear with me, I don't even know the German words for all of those.
I
Um,
can't help either, so sorry.
so motor oil I can say, but and
Something
tires
with a
I'm also.
spring, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I hope you, as the category experts, are getting
Mm,
a better understanding of those different items. And we have looked into a few more countries. And as said, we will share those slides afterwards. But it's actually interesting that, for example, tires are, if I go back, demanded in Italy and France, but a little bit less in Spain and also a little bit less in UK and ECM, where the other items are.
mhm.
And yeah, we also had some electronic sellers. And here my English is a little bit better, so I can see phones in Italy as well as in Spain, also in France. So phones seems to be yeah, a big thing, while camera actually is not a thing in Spain, while it is in Italy and France. And it's also not a big, no, actually is in US and UK, but less in ECM. And we saw a few toy sellers. So
Mhm.
toys are actually also part of our collectibles universe, I would say. And we also have a few toys examples here as like the highest, yeah, highest items in demand. And actually, trading cards is also something that we currently focus on because trading cards and coins is something where we see like globally a huge increase in demand. And I think we saw jewelry. For
Mhm.
me, at least,
Yes.
watches would also fall under jewelry. Maybe it's not. But this is also an overview if you are selling in fashion and lifestyle, where you see in US is definitely a little bit more fashion driven than other countries, at least when it's coming to demand. And we also saw a few home and garden sellers here in the chat. Also, here my English is at the end, I would say. But yeah, I hope you, as the category experts, might have seen your inventory here and are being a little bit inspired when it comes to the question where to actually start. So we provided you with like the list of overall demanded or like highest export markets that we see, and here you have an idea about what items are actually in demand, and maybe that's a good hint now to yeah find your target market.
Mhm. Maybe following up on this, Isabel, I know it's always difficult for you to give concrete information on a singular country market, because this is just the eBay structure. So how do you help sellers finding their sweet spot there, or the white spots in an inventory in one particular market? Is there any resources they can use to find out if their product fits the Spanish market or the UK market?
Yeah, one source that we always recommend is our product research tool. It's a tool that is for free for every sellers. You can find it in the Marktanalyse tab, so the market research tab in the Seller Hub, the Verkäufer Cockpit Pro. It's a tool for free. It's called Product Research, and there you can just enter your items, and you actually have a drop down in the right corner where you can select different countries, and there you can see how many items are being sold, what the average prices are, etc. So it's giving you, I would say, a little bit more detailed overview about specific inventories, as if you would just access the eBay page, which you can also do as an alternative, of course.
Okay.
Good.
Good.
And we will come to, maybe it's just switching over, but we will come to the seller programs after we had a brief discussion with Bart. But of course, when you're working with someone at eBay, they know your shop, they know your inventory, and they are also experts in the categories they are working in. They always can also help you identifying the best target market.
Okay. Good.
And yeah,
Okay.
with that, because I think I was talking a lot, and maybe we're now switching over to someone who's actually a real expert when it comes to international trade, because we brought Bart also today with us. Bart, and maybe you can introduce yourself. But Bart is a seller for quite a while on eBay and is also super specialized in international trade. But Bart, maybe you can give a little intro about yourself.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Bart, and I'm working with Helmet Discounter, which is a company that's mainly focused on the sale of motorcycle helmets and accessories. We've started, I think, almost 12 or 13 years ago now. My brother-in-law started actually in his garage with his parents. He moved on to online sales, and that took off. And after a while, we were looking to expand our business internationally. And we actually started with eBay with our international business, because it allowed us to list single listings and just check what items would actually sell. And currently, we sell on various different platforms. And we sell worldwide, actually, both on marketplaces and through our own store directly.
And Bart, because we just had the question, you said you are selling worldwide. How do you define new markets for your products?
We're not looking to reinvent the wheel ourselves, so we're looking at competitors, and we're looking at competitors online and see how and where they sell. So if a competitor sells well in a marketplace, we try to use that marketplace as well and see if that matches with our business and if it's possible to use those marketplaces. We also use an API like I believe Ingrid mentioned Channable. We use a local API which is Dutch, but they have a lot of connections with different marketplaces as well. So usually your API supplier also has an option to explore markets without having to invest a lot of money and time into trying to find out everything yourself about a marketplace or a market. And I believe Ingrid, her company, also offers a lot of insight and a lot of expertise and a lot of information just by subscribing to the newsletter, for example. They will give you a lot of information you would probably need quite some time to figure out yourself.
Yep. Thanks for that shout out, Bart. But you're right, of course. What I think comes out of what you're just saying is that it takes a bit of work. Yeah? It takes a bit of research. It takes a bit of dedication to say, okay, I want to sell internationally. I want to be successful selling international. So I go and ask my middleware provider, my marketplace. I look for other resources to gain some information on that. So, which is your strongest international market, Bart?
I think the stronger is the fact that you choose to use different marketplaces and different channels, because
Okay.
we see channels fluctuate through the years, and so some channels are especially since our product is somewhat seasonal, because most people won't drive drive their motorcycle in winter. So in winter we see a little dip, but some marketplaces have a rise in winter because they have a lot of Thanksgiving sales in the US or Christmas sales in other parts of the world. So we try to use those different channels to make sure we have year-round sales.
Okay. So, because that question came up a bit in the chat, how are you dealing with international returns?
It differs per marketplace. Our main focus is, I think, on price. So we try to keep the price as low as possible on all marketplaces, since that's for most buyers, that's the unique selling point. That does mean we do not offer free returns on marketplaces that don't require it. Some marketplaces require you to offer free returns if you're an international seller. Other marketplaces don't, and for most marketplaces that don't require free returns, we decided not to do so. eBay, for example, doesn't require you to have free returns, so you can ask the customer to pay for their own return. But do know that does impact your sales, because people will search for free returns, because it's a filter that can be used on eBay when searching for items. So it does improve your sales if you do offer free returns, but that depends on if there's room in your margin for the products you have.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point. Yeah. So another thing that I often find people worrying about when they talk about cross-border trade is the problem of, do I get my money? So what do I do if my customer is not paying, is not reacting, is trying to scam me in any way? Is that something you even that happened to you with your international customers?
Sadly, it does, and any marketplace, the marketplaces usually have a great system to make sure that both sellers and buyers are protected. But eventually, any marketplace or even your own website, you will have people trying to scam you and trying to get items for free, or claim items didn't arrive. You just sadly, it's a live and learn situation, because you have to learn how to deal with this and make sure that that it stays as low as possible. For a lot of marketplaces have different policies. eBay has a policy that any item shipped over, I believe, it's 650 euros. But Isabel, please let me know if I'm incorrect. But that it requires a signature for delivery. Items below it doesn't. So different marketplaces have different policies regarding delivery and signatures and proof of delivery. We I think our focus is to make sure that we pay a little bit more on shipping, but it gives us both signature, photo on delivery, etc., and that allows us to sell internationally without any hiccups. So I think we have maybe one or two cases a month, and yeah, you'll have to deal with it and learn how to deal with it over time.
And maybe to add here, we always recommend that you, whatever shipment you have, even if it's locally or internationally, you always add a tracking number, so that you can actually make use of your seller protection that we offer for those cases.
Yep. Yeah, we ship any item with tracking number, but more costly items require more than just a tracking number to be
Awesome.
to have it's your seller protection through eBay and other marketplaces as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And maybe a question, because I know that you are actually an eBay Mac user since a couple of, I think, years by now.
Yeah, we had an account manager through our store that was very eager in making us sell even more, and he was looking to expand our business as well. And he got us in touch with eBay Mac quite at the beginning, and eBay Mac wasn't intended in the beginning to use with an API like Channable, because both might influence each other too much. We were like, let's just try it and see what happens, and it's actually worked very well. And we were able also to provide some information to the eBay Mac team as well on how to improve the system to make sure it works with API integration. And that because we have quite the big inventory, I think we have currently about 50,000 products in stock at the moment.
Did you say 50,000?
We're not able to do that manually, let alone manually on different marketplaces. So eBay Mac allows us to implement all those on a single marketplace and forward it to any marketplace we like. And it also allows you to choose which items to forward to a marketplace. So you're not required to use all your items on all markets, but you can also select some items on some markets because it's, for example, it's not profitable for us to send like small parts or accessories to let's say Chile or New Zealand, because the cost of the item the cost of shipping would outweigh the item by a lot. So you can select specific markets for specific items. So that's for us that's the big thing with eBay Mag.
Mm-hmm. Just to chime in here, because we had that question several times now in the chat. eBay Mac is for active and passive CPT, or just one of them?
What eBay Mac actually does is transferring a passive listing to an active one. So you have to just, on your local listing, you just have to add the shipping opportunity. For example, shipments to France. So you have a passive listing, and eBay Mac is picking up this listing and is fully localizing it. So it's becoming an active. I hope that makes it a little bit more clear.
Okay.
Could you maybe go a few slides back to the eBay Mac overview, Isabel? That one, the next one, yeah, that one. If you see here, if you have a specific listing, you can click the listing, like the top one, the Bear is Busy book. You can click the listing, and it will show you what countries it's active at the moment. Once it's active in a country, you can also click the link for the specific item. So if it's transferred to eBay Italy, for example, you can click the link for eBay Italy, and it will show you the ebay.it site with that specific item. It will show you how it's translated. It will show you how it looks for a local seller. And it will also allow you to update the price for that specific listing. If you require the price to be updated for a specific country, for example, so you can actually work per item, but you can also select all items on the front of on the top left of your items, and for example, change shipping policies or return policies for all your items or a couple of items. So that's a great feature, and you can also filter for specific items. So if you're looking for items that are too cheap to ship abroad and only are sold in Germany, for example, for most sellers are in Germany, you can select those items and remove them from your eBay Mag translation system. So it allows you to actively work on your listings in eBay Mag.
Okay. I see quite a lot of DMs landing in your LinkedIn inbox with question about eBay Mac. Bart, could happen after this. Okay.
Yeah, and I also saw a question from somebody if they have to have an eBay account or an eBay Mag account. If you have an eBay account, that will allow you to log into any eBay site with the same credentials, and you will need an eBay account to be able to create an eBay Mag listing and translation option. So you will have to start with eBay before using eBay Mag.
Good. Okay. Right, Isabel, I have to look. Yeah.
There was another question about promotion.
Yes.
Oh yeah, advertising.
So yeah, and about advertising, yeah, if you have listing, the German eBay will have a promotions page. You can use that. You can actually use your promotions for the eBay DE specific site on eBay.de. If you go to eBay FR for France or IT in Italy, for example, you will have the same option for promotions and advertising for that country. So if you have listings in France or Italy, you can go to the same page on the specific eBay page, and it will allow you to do promotions and advertising as well for those countries.
So you actually don't add promotions via eBay Mac. You just create the listing via eBay Mac, and then you access the dedicated eBay page.
Yeah.
Just for everyone who has to, because we are running out of time at the moment. So if you have to leave the webinar, don't worry. We are recording it fully, and I will send the recording over tomorrow. So if you have to leave now, we will continue a bit because we still got some slides to go. But if you need to go, then you can look at the rest in the recording, right? Okay, Isabel.
Yeah, maybe it's actually the one final slide. Because Bart was also mentioning he got an account manager who helped him to increase sales. I was also briefly touching it. Specifically for German sellers, we launched a few selling programs. So for those who are not active yet, so don't have an eBay account or having an eBay account just for a couple of weeks, we actually have a free program that is called eBay Durchstarter, which is coming with 4 months of personal consulting. You would start with without fees, so no sales fees for the first 3 months. You get a top shop for free, and you also get an access to our premium customer service, so the concierge service. For those sellers who are already active with eBay, we are offering the Pro Trader program, which is kind of similar, but for a little bit more advanced sellers. So it's also coming with a personal consultation. So those folks can also help you identify good markets for you. And you would also be able to access the premium customer service. And those teams will help you to optimize your listings and to tailor marketing activities for your inventory. And then if you want to bring up your business to the next level, and you're also already experienced with eBay and just need a little bit of extra support, we do have an account management, which is basically a business partner for you. It's doing a regular performance analysis. It helps you optimizing your growth and your revenue. And it's really like a business consulting at that point. And this is coming with a fee of, I think it's 200 euros per month, but you can always stop it whenever you want. So it's not like you have to buy it for a year or so. Yeah, and we would share those slides afterwards. So if you're interested in any of those programs, you can just access them by our page, and then you can just register and apply for them.
Good. Great. With this comes some questions running in. A lot of them are on details about eBay Mac. Maybe because we can't cover everything. Do you have where can people go with these questions that are very specifically to how eBay Mac works? Apart from Bart, of course.
Please don't go into Bart's LinkedIn.
Bart support.
So you can always ask your eBay point of contact if you have any. That would be the very first instance. I don't see the questions, but we do have many seller center pages where you might be able to get them answered, or you can also get in touch with our customer service. And apart from that, I would say just try it out because it's for free. You don't have any risk. You just have to add shipping, and you can't break anything, I would say. So just try it out and see how it goes.
One other question is coming in here. When registering for eBay as a seller, do I register first through my local country domain portal, or should I directly register through eBay Mac when I plan to sell internationally?
You can't register with eBay Mac. You just need an eBay account. And with this eBay account, you can then just access eBay Mac. It's basically an eBay tool that is just not on eBay Core. It's just a standalone page.
Okay. Good. Maybe one more, because we're over the time already, so it doesn't matter anymore. How are settlements handled with eBay Mac? Will you get a singular settlement for all countries, or will those be splitted for the different countries if all sales go through a singular account? That's especially interesting for eBay UK, obviously, because it's not part of the EU anymore and has another currency.
And maybe Bart can share how.
All settlements go through the same account, and you will get an invoice at the end of every month showing the different countries and regions where items were sold. It will show the different currencies as well, and eBay handles all payments and settlements, so you don't have to have a US dollar account or an Australian dollar account or even an English pound account. You will get paid in euros, and the settlement will show you your seller fees in the country they were sold in, but it will all be settled in the same account. So if you open with a German shop, it will show in your German shop. One other thing I would advise, and I think Ingrid will probably have some information about it on your website as well, is open a one-stop shop account for your VATs. Since 2021, there's an option to for all sellers that go over, I believe it's 10,000 euros at the moment, international sales. It will allow you to do all your taxes in the same place in your local VAT registration, and you don't have to have a VAT number both in Italy, in France, in Germany, in the Netherlands, and in every country. But you're able to do these VAT requirements in your own country for every country you sold in.
Yeah, just my advice for my part is get a tax advisor who knows how to deal with OSS, because not everyone knows how it works. Not every tax advisor knows how e-commerce works, by the way, and even worse with marketplace business. And the OSS can be a problem if your tax advisor is too late or is entering the wrong information. I just did a piece on that, so just update on everything that can go wrong if your tax advisor is not up to speed. This.
Yeah, but it's important your tax advisor is up to speed if you're planning on selling internationally, because
Absolutely.
if it does take off, it's better to be on the front side of it than having to deal with it afterwards. So make sure that to follow up on that as well before starting blowing up your business. I hope.
Absolutely, yeah. Very important. Okay. Thank you all for listening today. I think I will wrap it up here. As I said before, we will send out the recording and the presentation as well, so you can look it up there. We also include some contact information to eBay if you've got any more questions or want to get in touch, because regarding one of the seller programs, for example. So yeah, thanks for joining us, and I hope it was interesting to you and helpful for your business. And we'll see if cross-border rates are going up even more after this. Thank you for that.
Would be great. And thank you so much, Bart, for your time and for
Absolutely.
your advices and learnings. Thank you.
No problem. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.